I'm grateful and I'm excited. And I really just hope that we can, affect people in the same way that movies affected me as a kid. And I don't just mean kids, I mean adults and everyone, that somebody can go into the theater and experience just a little bit of magic, a little bit of hope.
In September of 2012, an optimistic and passionate James Gunn was brought on to write and direct the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy project spearheaded by Marvel Studios, but his hiring immediately threw the world of social media into a frenzy. James Gunn had been known as a provocateur in his early days as a writer and filmmaker, and his desire to test the boundaries of comedy did not settle well with a large portion of the American movie-going audience. His Twitter was filled with inappropriate jokes about taboo subjects, but what got him in the most trouble directly after his employment was his blog post entitled "The 50 Superheroes You Most Want to Have Sex With." A Change.org petition was created to remove him from the job, following his grotesque and explicit depictions of women. Gunn did ultimately apologize for the blog and all of his offensive actions as a whole, stating, "I want to do my best to make this world a better place for all of us. I'm learning all the time. I will be more careful with my words in the future." And Marvel Studios, along with their parent company Disney, decided to stick with him. They were well aware of Gunn's poor track record on the internet, paired with the outrage he had incited, but they believed so strongly in his competency and vision as a filmmaker. Sure enough, his vision paid off, as Guardians of the Galaxy grossed a total of $773 million at the worldwide box office and spawned a sequel that grossed nearly $100 million more than that. Despite all this success, Disney did not hesitate to fire Gunn once dozens of his old tweets related to child abuse and sexual assault, among other things, were resurfaced online by an alt-right conspiracy theorist who had taken offense to Gunn's outward criticism towards President Donald Trump. Even though Disney and Marvel Studios were well aware of Gunn's horrific tweets back in 2012, the backlash was too much to handle this time around.
The firing of James Gunn generated a great deal of controversy within Hollywood, namely among the Guardians of the Galaxy cast. 10 days after the firing, the cast signed an open letter in support of Gunn, standing behind his character shown on set. Some of the stars spoke out more directly. Chris Pratt spoke with the Associated Press in an interview, airing out his feelings about the firing.
It's not an easy time, and we all love James, and he's a good friend of ours.
In a slightly ironic twist, other stars took to Twitter to express their discontent. Karen Gillan cryptically tweeted, "Love to every single member of my Guardians of the Galaxy family." In a video, Palm Clemente read out the words, "We are Groot, we are a family, we stand together." In the public eye, some viewed Disney's firing as a necessary action, adopting a zero-tolerance policy towards offensive content. On the other hand, critics of the firing claimed that Disney merely caved into trolls who attempt to unearth unsavory online content for no apparent reason.
I would hope Disney would govern themselves and not let this fringe group of lunatics tell them how they're going to hire and fire people.
Well, that would be nice.
Ultimately, Disney's decision has generated no clear consensus, resulting in both positive and negative reactions. In a way, this may be indicative of a divide in the perception of retribution and heavy-handedness in modern society.
The Motion Picture Association of America, or MPAA, possesses a classification and rating administration that has attributed a parental guidance rating to films since 1968. The MPAA's ratings include G for general audiences, PG for parental guidance suggested, PG-13, R, restricted, and NC-17. Today, organizations such as Common Sense Media and the American Academy of Pediatrics have supported the MPAA's efforts to increase parental awareness of film content. Ultimately, James Gunn's tweets were far more on the adult side of the spectrum. However, one thing is for certain. Gunn's career is far from over, and he has moved on to new projects such as the sequel to DC Comics' Suicide Squad. Clearly, Disney's hiring standards are not universal, which begs the question, what is Hollywood's status quo?
After Gunn's tweets were resurfaced, the Guardians of the Galaxy director defended himself by saying his intention was to tell jokes that were outrageous in nature. Over the last 10 years, though, Gunn stated that his style as a film director had evolved. As a result, Gunn's firing has sparked a conversation about the repercussions of offensive posts on social media platforms.
The problem is there are consequences, and I don't think tone and context always carry in a text message or a tweet.
When the internet was first introduced, one's internet and real-life persona were in two completely separate spheres. However, with the rise of social media, one's online presence is heavily linked to one's in-person identity. Gone are the days where one's online posts are anonymous. Therefore, everyone leaves a digital footprint, where every comment, update, and picture is permanently on the internet. Once Gunn's tweets were brought back into view, it ignited the debate about the role of crude humor that involves discrimination and sexual assault. Although this kind of humor encourages freedom of speech, many critics, including supporters of the Me Too movement, have argued its role as a releaser of prejudice and an advocate for decreasing the male perception regarding the seriousness of rape.
Throughout the rise in controversy, many knew of Gunn's experience as an R-rated comedy director, but what was the origin of his crude and offensive humor? As fans dug deeper into James's past, they unearthed the unexpected. In grade school, Gunn struggled with bullying due to his love for comic books and pop culture, and was constantly surrounded by peers drinking, doing drugs, and participating in other mature activities. When he addressed his parents about the rising issues, they didn't believe him. Ignored by those he loved and alienated from many of his classmates, Gunn found solace in his pop culture obsessions. Since then, Gunn has used his jokes and humor as his defensive shell against the disturbing aspects of the world we live in. In an interview following the release of Guardians of the Galaxy, James commented that the furry, gun-loving character of Rocket Raccoon was characterized after himself.
I know you play like you're the meanest and the hardest, but actually you're the most scared of all.
Shut up!
And you push away anyone who's willing to put up with you, because just a little bit of love reminds you how big and empty that hole inside you actually is.
I said shut up!
I know them scientists what made you never gave a rat's ass about you.
I'm serious, dude!
Just like my own damn parents who sold me, their own little baby, into slavery. I know who you are, boy, because you're me.
He stated, "I felt like Guardians of the Galaxy forced me into a much deeper way of thinking about my relationship to people. I was a nasty guy on Twitter, I was suddenly working for Marvel and Disney, and that didn't seem like something I could do anymore. I realized a lot of that stuff is a way that I push people away." Despite the contents of his tweet, Gunn has firmly stated his position as being against sexual harassment and child abuse. Even after his firings, actress Selma Blair, who came out about her sexual harassment experiences, defended James Gunn by asking, "If people are punished despite changing, then what does that teach people about owning mistakes and evolving?" This man is one of the good ones.